about 5 topics or tips to really be aware of when you're practicing, and this kind of stuff really helps build up your technical ability. So the first and most important thing is practicing slowly. Even if you're really confident with a certain lick or scale, practicing it slowly or even slower than you think is necessary is actually going to help really build up a lot of control and cleanliness, and will later build up to speed as well. I think a common misconception a lot of players have is if they can already play something well at a slow speed, why stay at that slow speed? They just want to keep getting faster and faster, and maybe they might think practicing slowly might add like an extra week or so of their practice of the specific run or lick, whatever it is they're working on. But actually, you'll get there at the same amount of time, you'll just get there much cleaner with a lot more control. You'll find that if you practice something over and over again, like at a slow speed over a few days or a few weeks, when you do finally start to increase the BPM of the metronome, making those next leaps to the next step and the next step is actually a lot quicker and easier than it would be just going straight into trying to play it fast and making a lot of mistakes and your fingers not really being too prepared for it. So practicing slowly can and should be applied to kind of anything that you're playing on the guitar, but the best example to show you what I mean is sweep picking. So basically someone who's been playing for 2 weeks can essentially do what sweep picking is on the right hand, which is just a really controlled fluid movement across the strings. It's essentially just strumming. And that's not what's hard about sweep picking, it's obviously the coordination between both hands. But you'll find when you practice sweeps at a relatively fast kind of tempo, the right hand motion isn't actually that hard to do. But when you start slowing it right down, it starts to become really tricky to control that motion at a really slow kind of tempo. So if you think of it like Tai Chi or yoga, it's about really slow and controlled movements. And that really helps with guitar playing as well. So if you practice anything slowly, if it's alternate picking, sweep picking, anything, it's really going to help your playing. So that kind of leads into the second topic, which is applying pressure with your left hand fretting and your right hand picking as well. But before I get into it, I want to stress that I don't mean playing tensed up or holding any tension in either of your hands. I just mean picking more assertively and kind of fretting just a bit more assertively. So basically when I practice anything, not when I'm actually playing, but when I'm practicing something, I always just tend to dig in just a little bit more with the pick and with my left hand. And the main reason for this is it really helps with imprinting that kind of muscle memory on your hands. A lot of beginners or intermediate players will find when they're practicing a certain lick or a scale and they're really thinking about the correct finger positions and stuff, that sometimes they'll have maybe 2 fingers trying to go for the same fret, and there's a bit of issues with coordination with just one hand. Again, this is something that I do when I'm practicing, not necessarily when I'm playing all the time or if I'm playing live, whatever. I do have quite a heavy-handed legato, I pick really hard, but when I practice I do it even more so, like I say, to really help that muscle memory sink in and kind of tell your fingers who's boss in a way. So as well as building up that kind of muscle memory that you really need for technical playing, it just sounds better as well. So if I take a really simple kind of crap riff like this and pick it weakly, there's a big difference between that and this is really nice for when you've got a microphone right up against the cabinet, you can really hear the difference. In just practicing this way, just really applying pressure with both hands, really digging in with your pick. Not only does it help with muscle memory and everything, but it just sounds way better as well. So the third topic is stretching and warming up. The last video I did was about guitar related injuries, and I've run into all kinds of stuff over the years, and stretching and warming up is hugely important, and it's something that a lot of us, including me, just always forget to do. So like I said in this video, it's probably the same with a lot of players out there, I don't always intend to play guitar for, you know, an hour or something at a time. I just pick a guitar up just to play a few riffs or something. I end up getting drawn into it, sucked into just playing for like an hour and just working out all kinds of crazy arpeggios. And most recently I did some damage to a ligament in this finger. So if you think you're going to get sucked into playing for a while, just stop, try and remember to stretch. There's all kinds of basic ones you can do, stretch like that, like this. Most recently a physiotherapist told me to stretch my fingers like this, each one. And just doing some basic kind of left hand warm-ups, just running up and down some scales, strumming a few chords just to get the blood flowing before you really get into it. Another thing I mentioned in this video is kind of posture and how important that is. You might get all kinds of problems in your hands and your wrists and stuff, and you might think you've just got a problem with your wrist, but actually it can stem from problems with your neck or your back or your shoulders. I've had all kinds of problems over the years of all different varieties of kind of RSI and tendonitis and stuff, and a few of those occasions where I've had a problem with my wrist, it's really come from my neck, and when I've had like a deep tissue massage on my back and my neck or something, it's actually helped in a big way with my wrist. So it is really important to pay attention to your posture, maybe practice in the classical position or standing up, or kind of just vary between the three if you're going to spend ages practicing the guitar. So the fourth tip, and this is something that really helped me with my playing, is to not make things too easy for yourself. So back in the day when I was having guitar lessons in my early teens and stuff, I had this one guitar that I practiced on that had really high action, really thick strings, low output pickups, and I did all my practicing on it. Basically, I just wanted to build up that kind of finger strength. So when I first started playing guitar, I played on a steel string acoustic for the first year, and that really helped build up a lot of finger strength in my left hand. And I basically wanted to kind of carry that on when I started doing more electric playing. So I had really high action, thick strings, it made legato playing really hard, and I had the mindset that I'd maybe play guitar like this for a few years, and then when I switched to playing tens with low action and a really thin neck, that I'd be, super fast. And, anytime I went around my friend's house and they had tens or down tuned or something, I felt I was just, lightning fast. And then got back to my guitar and just, still kind of a bit of a challenge to play, but it really helped my playing. I ended up sticking with using fairly thick strings. I use 11 to 49s in E standard, which is just really good for the kind of thrashy stuff we do. The strings aren't flapping about and stuff, and I'm just used to the kind of thicker string and tight tension. Another thing that kind of ties into this topic is practicing with a clean tone and distorted tone and kind of switching between the two, because they both have their own pros and cons. A lot of people would say that when you practice with a distorted tone, it kind of covers up bad playing, but when you start to increase the gain and have a really saturated guitar sound, it actually brings out a lot more noises that you aren't aware of sometimes when you have a really clean tone. So you might have like a string ringing out or notes bleeding into each other, or kind of loads of scrapey noise that you don't really want, that you can't always hear on a clean tone. Obviously practicing clean is really good for your coordination, hearing how consistent your picking is or consistent your legato is. So both have, like I say, pros and cons. So the fifth topic would be to be able to record yourself and listen back and be able to judge your own playing. So, Cubase, Pro Tools, GarageBand, your phone, a webcam, camera, whatever it is that you can record your own playing, and then maybe wait a week and then listen back to it with kind of fresh ears, and just be really critical and realistic with your playing. It's really good to set a high standard. Even if you're playing simple things, if you can play them well, that should count as being able to play something. So like I said in this video, for me, if I can't play something 4 times out of 5 perfectly, no mistakes, or alternatively go into a recording studio, get everything laid down within an hour to tape, no Pro Tools, no cutting and pasting, that's the sort of standard for being able to say you can play something. If you can't nail it, then you're still working towards it. It doesn't really count yet. So I'm not really that critical of other players. Certain guitarists aren't always the tightest or cleanest, but they still have a certain charm. They're still great players. Most of the guitarists I listen to aren't known for being the most technical or perfect players, and that's absolutely fine. But for me in practicing, it's really just good to have that kind of level to aspire to. So I definitely don't agree with getting angry, stressed out, throwing your guitar around, getting too down on yourself. And it is good to, praise yourself if you have been making a lot of good progress. But at the same time, if you can't nail something, if it's not perfect, just be honest with yourself and say, could it be better? And try and do it. So to recap everything, first thing, playing really slowly, precisely, methodically. Even if you want to go fast, just playing slowly still just really helps train those muscles, so when you do start to speed up, you can do it a lot easier and a lot cleaner. Same goes for applying pressure. It really sort of teaches your hands who's in control and where they need to be moving, and really builds up great kind of tone in your playing. Just, right hand and left hand, just picking hard and assertively and fretting hard and assertively does make a big difference to the sound of your playing. Third thing is try and remember to stretch and warm up. I might even put a sign up on my wall saying stretch, just to try and remind me. Fourth thing was don't make it too easy for yourself. Just playing a guitar that plays like crap is really going to help your playing. Even though it does kind of suck, it will just train your fingers and really strengthen them up. And the fifth thing, just be able to record yourself and judge your own playing and be honest and realistic with yourself.